Hey everyone, how's it going? Hope you had a good day so far. It's evening, I'm actually home now. So, my condenser fan, my electric fan came in for my truck. Sitting here right now. And I was gonna change it, and I started looking at it, I was like, you know what, no, I'm done, I'm tired, I've had a day, and I'm done for now. But I started thinking, I had actually put, I think, about 2,500 miles on this truck, and I have yet to check. I changed the oil when I first got it, but I have yet to actually check the oil. And I keep meaning to, and I just keep forgetting, which is kind of stupid on my part. I should have been checking it. So I figured, let's check it out now. Now, the truck has been sitting now for 2 hours since I got home. I took care of Gigi and had something to eat, but I figured, let me come out here and check the oil. The truck has been sitting. I don't really need to wipe it off normally. In a situation like this, you can if you want, but it should show me where the oil level actually is. So here we go. It's right about, it's still above, see that? It's still above, the actual mark is still just about at the S of the safe mark. You see it? So I'm fine with that. That's good. But I do got to change the oil soon, because I don't know how often the oil was changed before. And plus, if you remember the video where I showed the cam getting fixed, they must have been using Lucas oil treatment or something in this. So inside the valve cover is all like sticky and nasty and stuff like that. So I want to get it nice and hot and then change the oil again. I had gotten it nice and hot, changed it the first time, but I want to do it again. So I had been asked this question before, and it's kind of a question, it's kind of a statement. I've had people say, you know, how much oil should my vehicle use? Well, it really depends on the vehicle. Some newer cars will use oil a lot more than some of the older cars. When you get much older, then yeah, they use more oil. But it seems like cars from about 2011 to about 2019-ish seem to use a little bit more oil than other engines. And if you actually look in the owner's manual, or you actually look to see what the manufacturers say, many manufacturers say that it's okay to use up to 1 quart of oil in 1,000 miles. That's kind of substantial, but there again, that's considered normal. They used low tension rings, low friction rings, and yes, every single engine out there, I don't care what you tell me, every single engine out there, internal combustion engine, will burn oil. You may not notice it on the stick. It may be so minor, like you know, in between oil changes, you may not have to add a quart. But every single engine burns oil. You have no choice. Oil gets on the skirts, or on the sleeves rather. The piston goes up and down. The piston will scrape the oil away, but there's always a residual amount of oil that's there. And when the combustion process happens and it fires off and it burns, it will burn that minuscule, minute amount of oil. Every engine burns a certain amount of oil. You have no choice. It happens. And like I said, the vehicles now with those low friction, low tension rings, they have a tendency to use more oil. So if you think about it, let's say you use a quart of oil in 1,500 miles, and you're changing your oil every 5,000 miles. That's over 3 quarts, right? That's 3 quarts in 4,500 miles. So you hold 4 quarts. What's left? As the oil level goes down from 4 quarts, let's say it took 1,500 miles to burn 1 quart. So you went from 4 quarts, now you're down to 3 quarts in 1,500 miles, and you don't check your oil. Now, when you go from that 1,500 mile mark to 3,000, you now only have 3 quarts. Oil, as it breaks down, burns easier. It gets used up easier. It doesn't stick to the cylinder walls like it did before. It will get washed through the piston rings much easier. It will seep past the valve stem seals much easier. So when you're going from that 1,500 mile mark to the 3,000 mile mark, where you think you're going to use 1 more quart of oil, you may use 1 1/4 quarts or 1 1/2 quarts. So now you're even lower. Every time it goes down lower faster to the next mileage interval. So it's always important to check your oil. I don't agree at all, and you can tell me whatever you want to, I do not agree at all with the manufacturers nowadays saying you can go 8,000, 10,000, 12,000 miles in between oil changes. Here's my other point with that. Okay, your warranty is over at what, 36,000 miles? 60,000 miles. Let's say it's over at 36,000 miles. What does that equate to? I don't even know. I don't have a calculator in my head. So if you did your oil every 10,000 miles, or 12, let's say 12,000 miles, that's 3 oil changes in 36,000 miles. How expensive is an oil change? In the grand scheme of things, yes, an oil change could be $100, $125. How much is a new car? Seriously, is it worth risking your vehicle? Especially if you're going to keep it now. Okay, if you lease your vehicle, that's another story. Who cares? In all honesty, I hate to say it that way, but it's the truth. I know how everybody thinks. Whoever got my Jeep Wrangler, my 2017 Jeep Wrangler that I leased it for my wife. Whoever got that got a great vehicle because I took care of it. I tell people, in all honesty, if it's a conventional oil or a synthetic blend oil, 4,000 max. If you have to stretch to 5,000, okay. Full synthetic. I don't care what brand it is. Full synthetic. I will never go over 6,000 miles on an oil change, and I'll never recommend over 6,000 miles. Some of you are going to say it's overkill. I don't care. That's on you. That's your decision, not mine. I believe in getting a vehicle in to a shop and getting it looked at. I believe in the maintenance because, like I said, the maintenance is so important. It's cheap insurance. And that's another thing. A lot of people keep getting this question. Who do I recommend for aftermarket insurance companies? I'm going to make a separate video on that very shortly. And we're going to discuss that. Or at least I'm going to tell you my thoughts. Yeah, so maintenance. It's you're not hurting anything by changing. I knew a guy who used to change his oil every 1,000 miles. And that to me is overkill. But that was him. He just liked to change his oil every 1,000 miles. He wanted to make sure. And to me, it was a older Chevy small block, if I'm not mistaken, or it was something along those lines where the filter went straight up. So he used to prime the filter and everything else. So it never really ran itself dry, so to speak. It was just like a morning start every time he changed the oil. But he would change his oil every 1,000 miles. That stuff came out relatively clean. But, yeah, I certainly don't recommend 8, 10, 12,000 mile intervals. To me, it's just ridiculous. The other thing, too, is transmission services. I've said in the past, I don't service my transmissions. I never have. Unless I have some kind of a failure where I got to take a valve body out, you know, and I got to drop the pan for whatever reason. That's the only time it'll ever get any kind of a service. And a lot of times, honestly, I'll try to save the fluid that's coming out because I want to stick that same old fluid back in. It's pretty much up here. Like, it's a mental thing for me, whereas the old fluid is kind of like broken into the transmission, and I just feel it's a better alternative. Now, if you service your transmissions, it's okay, that's fine. Don't all of a sudden service your transmission if you got 200,000 miles on it. I would not even remotely recommend that. Transmission flushes, I do not recommend, because that's taking all the fluid out and exchanging it. You're exchanging all the fluid, and a lot of times a flush does not change the filter. A flush just runs fluid through it. That's all it's doing. And a lot of times when you get a flush, you're not using factory fluid. You're using some kind of an aftermarket fluid. I don't really recommend it. But there again, it is what it is. If that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. Doing a transmission service at 100,000 miles, you're not going to hurt anything. Like I said, it's just me, my own personal thing. That's the way I do things. I don't recommend it to my customers. Not that I don't recommend it. I don't push it on people. I never say, hey, you know, you're due for a service. You know, you got 60,000 miles on you. You're due for a service. I don't push it. If a customer says to me, hey, can you change it? Sure, I'll change it. But if a customer comes to me and it's got 150,000 miles on their vehicle and say, oh, you know, it's never been serviced before, I want it serviced. Nope, sorry, I won't do it. I will not do it. I have seen when a vehicle has higher mileage like that, or I have seen it where if the fluid actually has like a burnt smell to it, And even with 90,000 miles, I've seen it, like a burnt smell to it, and then all of a sudden you service it or flush it, now all of a sudden it starts having problems shortly thereafter. That I have seen. But if you're servicing your transmission at 100,000 miles, you're fine. You're not going to hurt nothing. A transmission can hold, 11, 12, 15 quarts of oil. Hold on a second. Sorry about that. I was getting a phone call. But when you do like a regular service, you drop in a pan and stuff like that, you're usually only doing 4 quarts, 5 quarts of fluid. So, like I said, you're not going to hurt nothing. So, anyway, that's kind of it. I just wanted to point on that. And got my dog Gigi over here. And a couple of you asked about her. Let me have her talk to you for a second. Hey, baby. Come here. So this is Gigi. Say hi, baby. Gigi is 7 years old. She's a Pit Bull Labrador Retriever mix. Actually, she's a Labrador Retriever. Chocolate Lab mix. So she's a Blue-Nosed Pit Chocolate Lab mix. They are actually known as plabs. I did not make that up. That's actually a thing. You could look it up. They're called plabs. She was a rescue, and she was set to be euthanized. We saved her. And like I said, she's 7 years old now, and she is a fantastic dog. And she's like our child, and she really is. She is just a big mush. When it comes to the grandkids, she loves the grandkids. The grandkids could be laying all over her. She loves it. She is the most gentle dog I have ever had in my life. And I've had dogs my entire life. I've had dogs. I've had cats. And we don't have a cat now. I'd love to have a cat, but Meg is definitely allergic to him now. So it's like we can't have cats anymore. But as far as she goes, out of all the dogs I've had in my life, she is the most gentle. I'll tell you what, though, when somebody comes around that she doesn't know, she sounds like you don't want to mess with her. Let's put it that way. She has a pretty rough sound, like she's about to tear you apart. But with the grandkids and stuff like that, she's just fantastic, gentle. She's also like, if you feed her by hand, if you give her something, she is so gentle. It's incredible. And she's a good girl. She listens. She hangs. She does the things we tell her to, and when we call her, she comes. Right, baby? G? Yeah, she's gonna ignore me. Hi, baby. There you go. Hi, baby. So, anyway, that's it. My day is done. So, that's about it for right now. So, hopefully you got something out of that video. If you did, hit that like button. If you could, please subscribe. Alright, guys, have a great day. Keep wrenching.